For more on how the jury selection is likely to play out, we want to bring in Dave Zehner with Zehner Trial Consulting.
Yeah, good morning to you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Well, what happens when they're trying to, select jurors for, this is a very high profile case. So what takes place here? What do we need to know?
Well, the judge will conduct an extensive what's called voir dire or questioning of the jurors to find out their pre-existing views, but most importantly, find out people who have already made up their minds about what the outcome should be in the case. Because as you mentioned, pretty much everyone has heard of this case. So the judge is looking for people who still have an open mind and are willing to consider the evidence.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this case comes on the heels of two high-profile cases nationwide. Of course, the Kyle Rittenhouse case and the Ahmaud Arbery case. When we were focusing so much on the makeups of those juries, what are you expecting the jury to look like here in Chicago?
My guess is you're going to have a very diverse jury that looks a lot like Cook County. I don't think either side is going to be looking for any particular type of jurors demographically. What they're going to be looking for instead are people who have pre-existing attitudes and beliefs that are making them more likely to accept the view of the case that each side is stating in their arguments.
And how quickly do you think this trial is going to go? I mean, at some point we'll be hearing opening statements. How quickly do you think this will all happen?
I would expect the jury selection to take a little bit of time because of the fact that they do have to explore people's pre-existing views. They also have to explore their knowledge of the case. So it's unlikely you would get opening statements today. It's possible, but I would expect jury selection to take today and then opening statements tomorrow. But the case will probably wrap up by the end of the week.
You know, we here in the news business were fascinated by this case, not necessarily because of what happened on that fateful night, but because of what happened afterwards, in particular with those who were charged with investigating. We know that detectives logged a lot of hours. We know that there was frustration among many after he seemingly walked away from this scot-free. Are you expecting that we might hear from some high-profile people with regard to witnesses on the stand?
I would expect actually you would hear mainly from the people involved in the case. The prosecution is going to want to keep it pared down. That's usually their best view is to go specifically to the points they want to make. They feel they have a pretty open and shut case with all of the evidence that they've accumulated. And the defense is going to be looking to make their points about the brothers and their particular involvement. So I would expect not to see too many high profile witnesses. Instead, seeing each side kind of focusing more on the evidence of the case.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there was SNL skits on this whole thing, and I want to ask you about the brothers in this case. How credible do you think that they will be? I know people make fun of them in these skits and everything, but when they're actually on the stand, what they say will matter. How credible do you think they are?
That's the key for the defense, is to make them not credible. The defense has to be able to prove that they are lying in order to avoid their culpability for the crime. However, I do think that jurors will feel a little bit of sympathy for them because they're really acting against interest by admitting their involvement. They admitted it fairly early in the case, and they can identify with people who are trying to just say what actually they were involved in.
Well, you certainly bring a lot of really great points up this morning, and I do appreciate you coming on the show to talk a little bit about this and what we can maybe expect for this trial as it keeps coming up. Hey, thank you for your time today.
Thanks again. Hey, have a great day.
You too.
You too. All right, the shopping today.